Political analyst, also a senior aide for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Chris, good morning. I think some Americans are starting to feel like this is the DOJ crying wolf. I mean, we've had so many times where we hear this is a historic case. This is an investigation into a former president. This is unprecedented and never seen before. Do you think that the American public, particularly the Republicans, are growing weary of what seems to be investigations with not much substance?
So, yes and no, right? Obviously, if you're a Republican, you've heard this before. You've heard what Donald Trump said before. You're going to hear what Jim Jordan and his other enablers say all day today and over the weekend. But elections are won in the margins. We have a very evenly divided country. And I think the people who are swing voters, who are going to make up the difference in Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, I think they're weary of a man who was accused credibly and indicted by a grand jury, not just by the Justice Department, but by American citizens who heard the evidence and decided to indict him. That this man may have violated the Espionage Act and endangered our national security. And I think it's, karmatic, if you will, that a president who was elected by successfully accusing his opponent of being unable of handling classified materials is now being charged with that crime himself, probably on laws he may have signed while he was president, which made those charges more severe than they were in 2016.
What do you make of some members of the Republican Party actually blaming President Biden for bringing the indictment? That just seems like a stretch.
Oh, it's an absolute stretch. Remember, a grand jury has to indict him. And I know the old saying that a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich, but not a ham sandwich who used to be president of the United States named Donald Trump. They know who he is. They know what the stakes are when they were hearing the evidence. And the evidence against him must be overwhelming. And I think the DOJ is making a mistake by not getting out in front of this. And they should come out today and they should lay out to the American people what the case against Donald Trump is. Now, of course, they've got to balance that with Donald Trump's right to a fair trial, and they cannot, put anything out there that might bias potential jurors down the road.
Right.
But they can't allow Donald Trump to define this as he has in the past with everything else that has been accused, that he's been accused of in the past. So I think they've got to learn from the past. And they've got to get out in front of this. Well,
they're running out of time. I think you make a really good point here because without getting in front of it, it's almost like, again, and it seems as though the American people, they were not shocked. I did not see a lot of shocked news anchors or shocked people, American citizens, when we found out the Pentagon has a probe for UFOs and we might have found some dead alien pilots somewhere. I don't think the American public is shocked by this announcement of a federal criminal indictment of a former president.
I think more Americans are shocked by that woman not giving the guy $70 for missing the date that you talked about before than Donald Trump being indicted today. We know he was going to be indicted for this. We know he's got more indictments coming. But this is the thing. Anybody out there saying this is going to help him win the presidency is out of their mind. This is not going to help him. It might help him win the Republican Party primary. The Republican Party now seems to be rallying around this guy. They like grievances. The other candidates are not going to use this against him, and I think that's a big mistake. I think Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and everybody else running against Donald Trump need to hammer this home so that their voters say this guy is unelectable broadly. It might help him in the primary, but it does not help him in the margins that win the election. And that is the problem for Republicans right now. And that's why there should be more outrage here.
Yeah, well, there's not much to say about President Biden either, because there are a lot of people who say he's not electable either. So this is going to be a fascinating race for sure. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.